It's Friday then. It's Saturday, Sunday. What? Big Deke News. You guys told me it's cool to check on the X's throughout the season. So George Pickens played yesterday. Cowboys, Eagles, NFL season opener. Thursday Night Football. And I don't know if you could have gotten a more George Pickens type of game to start. He had an almost circus catch where he was trying to grab it with one hand. Honestly, in my opinion, I think he could have put two hands on it. Defender wasn't holding him back from reaching his arm and hand over at that point to put two hands on the ball and secure that. But anyway, it drew the pass interference, so it doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but has legit impact. We've seen George Pickens do that multiple times in Pittsburgh. Also got an egregious penalty as the Cowboys had momentum on offense and were in the Eagles zone for awful blocking effort / technique and got the Cowboys backed up to a 1st and 20. They ultimately fumbled on the series, and the Eagles got the ball, and Cowboys got no points. But Pickens also had a good block, and like a legit, like aggressive block, pancaked the dude, went viral. That's a Pickens staple as well when he wants to block. Also had a clutch, tough catch late in the game to keep the chains moving on 3rd down. Toe tapped it along the sideline. Defender was draped all over him. Reached out. Good hands catch on it. So there's that. But he also tried to trip the cornerback that was covering him after an incomplete pass down in the end zone. All that with a final stat line of 3 receptions and 30 yards. It was the George Pickens experience on display. I think Steeler fans are the only ones that kind of know that for real or really noticed it to that degree. Like, you really had to pay attention to all the little details, because if you weren't, maybe Pickens' game yesterday was an afterthought. I mean, it could have been worse. He could have done this with the game on the line.
Looking middle, covered upfield for a win! CD couldn't hang on!
Or even the fact that someone spit and got ejected yesterday, and it wasn't Pickens. That could be considered a dub for GP. But if anything, this should be, I think, after watching yesterday's game with Pickens on the Cowboys, I think it should be a sigh of relief for Steeler fans that thought trading Pickens was a massive mistake and the Steelers were really going to regret it. I thought it was ultimately going to be addition through subtraction. You could complain about the timing of the trade, and that didn't make sense. But could you imagine still having these conversations about Pickens' talent and his immaturity all over again for the 4th season in a row, all the while we rehauled the team with Rodgers, Metcalf, Jalen Ramsey, etc., which, in my opinion, with that overhaul, with the turnover the Steelers did this offseason with personnel, I think that clearly signaled that what we've been doing hasn't been good enough. The culture we've been fostering needs to change. So imagine the change that we did have, but then still also having Pickens stuff lingering around. Like, it looked like we've made every right move to try to change the culture and bring in leadership and do something new, but then we still got Pickens, and then we'd be dealing with his antics as early as week 1. I mean, you just saw it on display yesterday. We just went over all that. So I think the Pickens trade, as I said in the past, it's going to ultimately age out well for the Steelers. And yesterday, in my opinion, was another sign of that. Now, on a side note from yesterday's game, because it was the NFL opener, I got a take or two. Dak actually impressed me. I think Dak played good, surprisingly. That loss was not on him. That loss was on CeeDee Lamb. Just catch the ball, bro. But let's get back to the Steelers. This is a Steelers show. And the main question that's still lingering as we head into this week 1 game against the Jets is Cam Heyward and his contract situation. Now, I guess Boswell, too. I'm still kind of wondering about that, because there was that Schefter tweet. It was when the Cam Heyward stuff first came out, early August, that we found out Cam's unhappy with his contract. He wants a rework deal. He wants a pay raise. And then Schefter also threw in there, Boz is seeking a new deal, but we haven't heard from Boz at all after that tweet was sent out. So, like, that's the other one. I'm like, is Boz going to get a new deal? Is he going to get something done in the final hour? But there's no threat. There's been no conversation about him skipping games if he doesn't. Cam, at least that's been brought up. And yesterday, he missed practice. It's labeled as a vet rest day on the practice report, so I'm really not making much of a big deal out of it because today there's video of Cam being out there and practicing and everything. So what I assumed looks like it's going to be true. Cam is going to play week 1, whether he gets the new deal or not. And that's just how it's going to be, because if he sits out, it's just dumb. Like, you're going to lose the fan base. They're going to be pissed at you. And then you're going to lose money. Like, Steelers can fine you for doing that. It doesn't make sense. Cam doesn't have much leverage in this, although with Derek Harmon being injured, him sitting out would send a little bit of a message. But then, again, you are losing the fan base if you do that, bro, especially with the Aaron Rodgers comments from earlier this offseason. Do you want to be a Steeler or not?
Either you want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler or you don't.
Yeah, he's going to play. Cam's going to play. How happy is he going to be? How is not getting a new deal going to affect him? Who knows? But that's the thing. If it's more about just being a Steeler as opposed to the money, I think Cam's going to be fine. Steelers are going to be fine. And it's going to be worked through. It's not going to be a problem.
You know, there's loud voices, and you know everybody has an opinion, but I can't control that. You know, if you know how I work, you know how I play. That's all that matters. You know, I have to make a decision for my family. This is a business. I cannot play this game forever.
Now, I just thought of this. There is something that the Steelers and Cam could do, just exemplified by Juwan Jennings and the 49ers, because Juwan Jennings is kind of in a similar spot as Cam Heyward. Similar. Not exactly apples to apples, but he's not happy with his contract. He made that clear earlier this offseason, but the Niners said, we're not going to do anything about it. And Juwan Jennings is like, all right, tough luck. All right, I'm just going to have to play out the rest of this deal, show up for all the offseason stuff, and then see if I can make my bank next offseason. But him and the Niners agreed to something just a few days out before their week 1 game where at least he can get something extra for this season, and it's in playing incentives. Like, I think if he gets a certain amount of snaps, he can earn up to $3 million in incentives. Steelers could maybe do that. I know they're not big on incentives, but they did incentives with Aaron Rodgers. The irony of this all. So, yeah, maybe they could do a little something with Cam. If he has a certain amount of snaps, if he's playing a certain amount of time out there, he gets a bump. Maybe if he makes a Pro Bowl or an All-Pro, if he gets 7 or 8 sacks. Like, there's some incentives that the Steelers could at least throw his way if they don't want to guarantee anything up front and give him this pay bump. I feel like that's a possibility. The other thing, though, I guess could be, Nick Herbig. We don't know exactly what his status is just yet for the game. We might find out that later today after practice. He's been limited on Wednesday and Thursday. And if he's full today, obviously that's a sign in the right direction that his game status will be either probable or he'll be active. But I'm not going to front. If he was limited already Wednesday, Thursday with this soft tissue injury, I'd rather him just sit out week 1, especially with him, too, being the third stringer at the edge rush position. Like, we could be fine without Nick Herbig for this week 1 game with TJ and Highsmith being there, and then also a Jack Sawyer. Malik Harrison is a versatile piece. Obviously, he's predominantly an inside linebacker for us, but he's been playing edge rusher for the last few seasons with the Ravens and has been pretty good at it, doing the run-stopping stuff. So if it was me, I'd sit Herbig out for week 1, no matter what he does today in practice. If he's listed at limited or full participant, just save it another week. If he was already limited Wednesday, Thursday, no need to rush it. Last thing, I see a lot of you guys hit me up. Deke, what are the picks? What are the parlays? How's it going to happen? Break it down. So I got you covered. Aaron Rodgers over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I think he's going to get 3. I think he's going to go off this game. And then Aaron Rodgers for most passing yards between him and Justin Fields. And then Steelers money line. $20 plus 248 on the odds for a total payout of $76.95. I think that's a solid parlay. Now, there's a few other things that I'm looking at and will probably put in before kickoff on Sunday. And one of you guys mentioned this in the comments. Darnell Washington, anytime touchdown. The way Rodgers has been talking about Darnell, comparing him to Mercedes Lewis, saying that he needs to get more involved in the offense. He's definitely playing the right position of being a tight end and not a left tackle. I got a feeling if we're in the red zone, if it's not a handoff to Jaylen Warren, then Rodgers is going to be looking Darnell Washington's way. There's going to be at least a pass attempt or two to Darnell with the touchdown chance. DK Metcalf, I was eyeing this one up. They got his receiving yards over under at like 55. It's like, bro, that only takes like 2 or 3 catches for DK Metcalf to get 55 yards. And he's our for sure number one in this offense. Everything else you could talk yourself into. You could talk yourself into Darnell with that anytime touchdown. You could talk yourself into Jonnu Smith having 4 receptions, 50 yards. Or those 4 receptions, 50 yards maybe going to Pat Freiermuth. Or Roman Wilson, right? Like we don't know the exact division of labor after DK Metcalf, but we know DK Metcalf is the number one. And the way Big Ben was talking about the connection and how he visited that practice, that was at Heinz Field. It was that joint practice against the Bucs. He was like, yeah, man, I'd seen some things with Rodgers Metcalf. Like, look for them to go off. And 55, even though it's week 1, the connection hasn't been exactly built just yet. 55 yards doesn't seem like a whole lot. And I think Rodgers is going to want to test his former teammate, Sauce Gardner, a little bit, right? I could see that. With Sauce Gardner, the caliber of cornerback that he is, I could see Rodgers just letting him know, yo, bro, like I still got it. I used to do this type of stuff against you in practice, but now it's the regular season. We're on opposing teams. Like, yeah, I'm gonna throw a pass to DK when he's matched up against you. It's going to be a ball that you can't get. And then TJ Watt, I think he gets a sack. The odds aren't good on that, so maybe you got a parlay. That was something. I think TJ Watt has at least a sack or 2. And then I also think Cam Heyward, he's another guy I think will get a sack. Now, I was looking for Y.A. Black because I think that would be a good bet too, him coming off of that preseason momentum. But his name wasn't in the props for getting a sack. So Cam Heyward, though, I like that. And the thought process behind both is they're going up against a weakened Jets interior offensive line. And Cam Heyward just feels right because of the whole contract dispute talks and stuff like that. He'll get a sack or 2, and then, you know, that'll be a point of conversation throughout the week. Like, oh, should the Steelers have given Cam his money? Like, look, he's already outplaying the contract. He's already showing that he could do it still at an all-pro level at 36. Outside of that, Roman Wilson. I got a sneaky suspicion Roman Wilson has a good game. I could see 3-4 catches, like 76 yards. He'll catch a screen pass, take it for about 10 or 15. He'll catch a drag route, take that for maybe like 10 yards, a 25, 30-yard crosser over the middle. Yeah, I see Roman Wilson having a good game. I don't know why. But that's it for today's show. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments on all the topics discussed. And what are your predictions for the game? What do you think I got right? What do you think I got wrong? Any bold predictions? Tell me how it's going to play out. That's it. For the game. Not sure just yet. Not sure. We'll just keep it. I'm just going to keep it simple right now. I'm not going to do a like contest or anything like that. Live for the full game or live for after. Just stay tuned. I'll let you guys know. I will give you more than enough time to know what I'm doing, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'll just be spur of the moment. I'll just be live for the game. But that's it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Stay chilling. Peace.